Hello and thank you for joining us again today. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can fetch data from an API with API keys by passing a header that contains the API key. This is how it's going to look like. It's going to be country. It's going to fetch country at first, and when you select the country, it's going to fetch the state, and then when you select the state, it's going to fetch the city. For this API, I'm going to use this API from country state city.in. It's made by some Indian guy. It's actually a pretty good API. If you're looking for country and state and city filter, it contains all the countries. So you can see the United States or all the countries. Actually, it loads the state, and then when you choose a state, you can integrate this into your form. Now the next question will be, can you use this for commercial purpose? Yes, you can. You might want to check out the FAQ page. He answered some questions here, and then for you to use this, actually you need to request for a API key. Also, you might be interested in how to filter data using Match Select. I made this video, but this is just normal API calls without headers and without a header and without an API key. So today we're going to be using API key to make this call. If this is your first time watching our videos, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing, like, and hit the notification bell. Leave us a comment if you've got questions or comment. Without further delays, let's get to it. So I have created a new project. In this project, I'm going to start from scratch, but I'm going to be a bit faster. So if you're feeling confused, just check out that video or the first video. It's a similar video I made where I made API calls without headers and API keys. But because this is a similar video, I'm just going to be a bit fast about this one. So before we go further, this is a brand new project. We need to add Angular material. So I'm just going to come to my terminal, and then I'm going to do ng add with Angular material. This we add Angular material to our project, and then we can use it. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is to import some modules that will help us to achieve this. The name of those modules will be HTTP client. It will be forms module. So now that we've added Angular material, we've imported the right modules. Now let's test to be sure that our API key that we got from this site is working. And we can do that by testing it in Postman. So I've got an API key that was emailed to me from this site. The first thing you do is you fetch the API. So I'm going to need to fetch all countries. So I'm going to copy that URL, and I'm going to go to Postman. I'm going to put it here, and then I'm going to go to authorization, and I'm going to choose API key. Now there are different kind of authorization, but API key is what I want to use because I believe that's what I got. I'm going to pass the key, and then I'm going to pass the value. When I send this, it's going to return all countries. So this, I know that my API key is working. And if I want to check a state, for example, if I do ZA, this is going to fetch all states in South Africa. The same way, if I do IN, this is going to fetch all states or province in India. Okay, so now I know that my API key is working. Now I can use it. So let's go to the documentation. So over here, if I want the list of all the countries, I need to pass this API and then pass my API key in the header. I'm going to get response like this. I'm going to create in 3 classes: country class, city class, and state class. The country class will have an ID name and ISO2. The state by country will have class, ID name, and ISO2 as well. And then city by state and country, we have class, ID, and name. We're going to pass different parameters. Okay, if you find difficulty in any of this, you can always come back to this documentation. So the first thing that I want to do is to create the classes. I'm going to create the classes in a folder model, and I'm going to create a service that's going to help us to consume this API. So I'll start by creating a class. And the first class I'm going to create will be country. I'm going to create another class, and that will be state. And finally, I'm going to create another class, and that will be city. Now, the next step will be to create a service. I'm going to put the service in services folder. I'm going to call that country, state, city. Okay, let's go over what we've done so far. So right now we have a class that is city, we have a class that is country, and a class that is state. And we have a service that is country, state and city. So but our front end still looks like it was originally. So when I run our project, this is what it looks like. It's blank. I'm going to go to my services, and I need to create a constructor. The next thing that I want to do is to create the header that we're going to pass the API key into. So to do that, we do HTTP options. Okay, I think why are we having this error? Okay, I need to take this one away. Okay, all good. And the next thing, we now pass the API key. And that is it for our API header. So we're going to be making our first call, which is to get the list of all countries, and this is going to load on page load. So we do get country, now we paste the API for all countries, which is this one. Let's copy that, pass it here, and then we add our header. Okay, let's go implement this. So the next place we want to get to will be app components.ts, and then here in app component.ts we're going to declare some variable. One of those will be this country, and this will be country object. It's going to be an array, and then when a country is selected, we're going to pick that selection and we're going to hold it. So this will be country selected. So here I'm going to also create variables for state and for city. Now when you select a state, we also want to pick that selection, that state that you selected. So this will be selected state. And lastly, we want to list the city. Okay, before we proceed further, let's go and fix our front end. So right now it's using this demo landing page. Because of time, I'm not gonna do it from scratch. I'm just gonna copy a bunch of HTML and style sheet, and I'm gonna put it in our app component.html. So I've just got a bunch of headers with links and all that just to make it look pretty. And then I've got a select country and state, and then city. There's nothing in there for now. It's not calling anything, it's not fetching anything. Now we're going to pass that country into the first select, and then when you select the country, it's going to fetch the state, and then when you select the state, it's going to fetch the city. All of this using that API that we have with the API key. So let's continue doing that. So the next thing that I want to do is to ensure that I've got the variable inside the classes that we created, which is the state class and the city class. So let's start with the state. So I'm going to change the class to interface, and then I'm going to get the variables for state. I can get that by passing the country, say this, and then pass the state. I need ID, name, and ISO2. Okay, so that's that for the state. To get the variables for the city, all I need to do is to pass this ISO2, and then that will fetch the city for Northern Cape. So for the cities, all I need is ID and name. And if you're wondering how I came about this, is in the documentation. You can find it here, list of cities by state and country. So you're supposed to pass the ISO for state and ISO for city, which is a requirement for you to fetch the particular cities of the state and of that country. In similar way, to get state by country, you need to pass the ISO for the country in the URL for you to get the state. So I know this is ID and name for city, so let's go create that. So far we've created a call, but we've not passed any parameters in here yet, and that's what we're gonna do now. So let's open our app component.ts file. We'll make that API call. List countries is gonna hold there. So on page load, we want to fetch all countries and load them inside the first select, which is country. Now we need to create this function because we don't have it yet. We need to create a constructor for our country service. Now we can use that. Just get country. Let's console log this. Now if we go to our browser and reload this page, and if we inspect, we can see that nothing is happening yet because we've not loaded that into our component. So let's go do that next. So the next thing we do is open our app component HTML, and then down here on the country, on the math options, we do ng4. We select country of countries of list country. Let's go test that out when we reload. Let's see. Nothing happening. Let's go find out what we've done. So I check and inspect. I'm not getting the country, which is weird. But then I realized that there is a mistake here. So this ng on it is not correct. So it's supposed to be a capital I. That is why we are not getting the service. And now you can see my country is being loaded. And now I have 250 countries. Now I have a list of countries that is being loaded. So this singular error or typo error has costed me like 10 minutes of going through all of these codes again. Okay, I'm just pointing that out there. Okay, cool. All right, the next thing we want to do is to actually load the state when you select the country. Okay, and for us to do that, we need to bind the selected country to MathSelect. So whenever you select the country, we'll be able to get that value of the selected country. So with this, we can now use it to pass to the state. And the next thing we need to do is to create on change event. So whenever a selection value changes, it's going to trigger that event to get respective state of that country. Okay, let's do that on model ng on model change, and this is going to be on country selected. Now we have not created this function, so let's go and create it. Before we create this function, we need to go and create the service to get the state. And this will be get state of selected country. And then we'll be passing the country ISO as per the documentation. It requires the country ISO. Okay. Now we need to get this URL that is for the state. We're going to pass that URL in here, and we're going to replace this CSIO to country ISO. Whenever this service is called, it's going to pick the value, the ISO of the selected country, and then pass it into here. We're going to pass it to the URL. and it's going to fetch the state. And then again, as usual, we're going to pass the header with the API in it. I'm just going to copy this, paste it here. So let's go back to app component where we have created a function that is not used. So we're going to go create this function in our app component, and that will be country ISO. Now the state is the variable we created up here to hold list of states that we fetch. If you find value in this video, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos of this kind. Hit the like button and leave us a comment in the comment section. So I'm going to console log this. And then let's get back to our app component, load all the state into the math option. So we're going to use ng4. And now if we reload our page and we select the country, this loads a state for us. If we inspect it and clear this, reload the page, on page load we fetch countries, and then if we choose whatever country we choose, it will load the state of that country. The next thing we want to do is when you now select the state, it should fetch the cities in that state. Let's do that. So we create that service for the cities just like we've created for the country and like we've created for the state. So this is going to be get cities of selected country, selected state. Now, according to the documentation, it requires the ISO of the country and then the ISO of the state. I'm sure whatever API you're going to use will have documentations as well. So I'm going to require two parameters, one of which is country ISO and state ISO. And then I'm just going to copy the URL again, just copy that. Then here I'm going to pass the first requirement, which is the country ISO. Then here in the state ISO, I'm going to pass the second parameter. And then I'm going to copy my header information. Alright, so this is ready. Let's go do app component. So I'm just going to copy this and just change it just to save some time. And then this will be state selected. And I already declared this in our app component. It's here, selected state. And then this I'm going to change to on state selected. Then we go create this function. The only thing is we will not be needing this event. So now on select state selected, when you select a state, remember that when you select a country, we are able to catch the country selected. When you select a state, we are able to catch it as well. And those are stored in this variable and this variable. Now we're going to use this variable and this variable to pass into the parameter of the city URL. So we're required to pass it into this URL when we make that call. So let's go do that. So I'm going to call this country param, and this will be equals to this to country selected, and then I'm going to have the state param, and this will equal to this dot state selected state. Now we can do this done. Get cities of selected state, and they will pass the first parameter. All right, then let's go to app component HTML. So we're going to repeat this anyway, so I'm just going to copy that just to make it faster, and then in the value as well, to this will be city. Let city of this city, city.id, and the option text will be city.name. Now let's go see in our browser. When you reload, let's inspect it. Now on page load, it fetches country, and when you select a country, it fetches the state, and when you select a state, it fetches the city, and you can see. Now just to make this visually appealing, I'm gonna add a container just to have some to make it look nice. Please consider subscribing to our channel. If you like this video, please leave us a thumbs up, and if you have any comment, please leave a comment in the comment section. Please let us know where you're watching from and what you like about this video. If there's some other topic that you want us to look into or want us to make videos about, please also let us know in the comment section. All right, so I'm just gonna enable this. So I just created containers. So when I select the country, let's say I'm gonna go pick any country. I'm gonna start from this one, Afghanistan. This is gonna load the state for us, and when I choose a state, it's gonna load city. Now let me try a different country. You can try any country, it's gonna be the same. So it's gonna now load the state, and then when you choose a state, it's gonna load the cities, just the same way it's loading inside here, inside the city select. So this you could use for a form, you could use this for displaying, you can even add a link here, so that when you click here, when you click on the name in the state, it just loads it automatically. So this is how you can make an API call in Angular with API key. I'm going to leave the link to the source code in the description box, and if you find this video interesting, please hit the like button, and if you're new to our channel, please subscribe.